Some of America's most popular vacation states, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, may be the most dangerous places to travel this hurricane season. With FEMA slashing training and staffing right before a predicted 17-storm Atlantic season, you could find yourself stranded without rescue. Now I'll walk through the worst-hit states, what's changed in emergency planning, and how FEMA's cuts could leave you on your own. Chapter 1. Texas, the inland disaster. FEMA couldn't handle you expect hurricanes to slam the coast, but in July 2025, Texas was hit from the inside. No winds, no warning, just water. Relentless, rising water. It started with what meteorologists called a stalled moisture plume, a polite name for a sky that wouldn't stop dumping rain. In just 24 hours, parts of the Texas Hill Country got soaked with over 16 inches, more than 4 months worth of rainfall all at once. Flash floods tore through towns like Kerrville, Ingram, and Hunt, but the real horror hit Camp Mystic. That July 4th weekend, 135 campers and counselors were enjoying a summer break until the Guadalupe River exploded. Cabins were gone in minutes, buses overturned, and when the water receded, 42 people were dead, including 17 children. One survivor said, "We thought we had hours. We had 15 minutes. And FEMA? Nowhere in sight." Response teams didn't arrive for over 30 hours, not because they didn't care, but because they didn't have the people. Since January, FEMA has lost over 3,000 staff. Add to that a brand new rule requiring multi-level approval for any deployment costing over $100,000. Translation? Bureaucracy stalled the rescue. The director of FEMA's Southwest region quit the next week. His letter blamed preventable death caused by red tape. Texas isn't just coastal, it's a flood zone waiting to happen. In 2015, Memorial Day floods killed 27. In 2017, Hurricane Harvey caused $125 billion in damages, most of it from inland water. Now, with FEMA planning to scale back operations after 2025, Texas is being left to handle future storms alone. So if you're headed there this summer, ask yourself one thing. If a flood hits and federal help's not coming, who's pulling you out? And that's just the beginning. The next state on this list, it's drowning from the inside too. Chapter 2. North Carolina. The floods come from within. You'd expect North Carolina to worry about hurricanes along the Outer Banks. But in September 2024, the real destruction came from 200 miles inland, where no one thought to evacuate. When Hurricane Helene made landfall, it didn't slam into beaches. It stalled over the Blue Ridge Mountains, unleashing a flood that would go down as one of the deadliest inland weather disasters in state history. Buncombe County, known for its quiet towns and scenic drives, saw 12 inches of rain in under 10 hours. Dams buckled, roads caved, entire neighborhoods vanished in mud. Asheville, a popular tourist spot, lost power for nearly 4 days. The hospital's basement flooded. Medical staff reportedly used water sanitizing tablets from Amazon to keep surgeries going. 78 people died, most of them in mountain towns with no flood maps, no warning sirens, and no FEMA backup in sight. So what happened? FEMA's own alert systems were understaffed. The state's request for federal evacuation support went unanswered for 18 hours, long enough for entire roads to disappear. And by the time funding approvals rolled in, local rescue teams had already maxed out fuel, food, and stretchers. It wasn't supposed to be like this. After Hurricane Floyd in 1999, FEMA poured millions into North Carolina for flood infrastructure and warning systems. But in 2025, those grants dried up. A $200 million rebuilding plan for dam maintenance near tourist-heavy Lake Lure was delayed indefinitely after FEMA paused all new mitigation contracts due to budget freezes. Experts now warn that more than 80 inland counties in North Carolina could face similar failures if Helene-like storms return. So here's the thing. If you're planning a trip to Asheville or anywhere in the western part of the state during hurricane season, you might not see the storm coming, but you will feel what it leaves behind. And if you think coastal Florida's better prepared, wait until you see what happened down there. Chapter 3. Florida, including the Keys. Extreme risk with less backup. Florida doesn't just get hurricanes, it absorbs them. It's America's front line for tropical destruction, with more direct hurricane hits than any other state. But in 2025, the state isn't just bracing for storms, it's bracing for them without a full FEMA safety net. Start with the Keys. These low-lying islands have nowhere to run. In 2017, Hurricane Irma roared through as a Category 4 and left a trail of ruin. Over 1,180 homes were destroyed and 6,000 plus others damaged, with winds topping 130 miles per hour and storm surges pushing water 8 feet above normal. Locals say recovery took years, and now they fear it'll take even longer next time, if it happens at all. Why? In 2025, FEMA reduced its federal disaster match rate from the traditional 75% to possibly as low as 50%, meaning local governments must shoulder much more of the bill. Monroe County and Miami-Dade, already strained by rising insurance costs and real estate risk, are now on the hook for evacuations, shelters, and first response coordination. And there's more. Emergency preparedness summits, which once trained local officials and linked federal response plans across counties, were quietly canceled this year. The last one, scheduled for May 2025, 2025 never happened, leaving towns like Key Largo and Isla Mirada scrambling for guidance. If you're flying into Fort Lauderdale, Tampa, or Key West this summer, keep this in mind. Unless a disaster is officially declared, federal funds for evacuation support or airport emergency operations may never arrive, meaning your escape route could be operating on fumes. With 2025's hurricane forecast expecting up to 17 named storms, including multiple majors, even a minor system could overwhelm a city that hasn't seen updated FEMA flood maps in years. The takeaway? Florida's beautiful beaches come with growing risk, and this year the backup plan might be missing, and Florida's not alone. What's happening behind FEMA's curtain affects every state on this list. Chapter 4. Why FEMA's funding cuts raise the stakes. When hurricanes hit, FEMA is supposed to be the cavalry, but in 2025 that cavalry is underfunded, understaffed, and increasingly absent. Since January, FEMA has lost over 20% of its national workforce, according to internal DHS reports. That's nearly 4,600 emergency coordinators, field agents, and logistics personnel gone in under 6 months. Why? A combination of hiring freezes, delayed training cohorts, and restructuring efforts to streamline operations. But streamlining doesn't help when deadly weather doesn't wait. Historically, FEMA trained over 7,000 new emergency leaders per year through its National Emergency Management Basic Academy. But this year, all 5 regional training centers closed indefinitely, with course materials moved online, despite 61% of county emergency managers reporting unreliable broadband access in rural areas. And leadership? On June 1st, the official start of hurricane season, a leaked memo revealed that FEMA's acting director didn't even realize the season had begun. That gaffe made headlines, rattled state partners, and sparked panic across coordination teams. Local officials in Alabama and Mississippi reported FEMA's phone lines going unanswered during early season flood events. At the local level, the situation is worse. FEMA's decision to pause over 1,200 hazard mitigation grants this year has delayed levee repairs, floodplain mapping, and siren installation projects. In places like St. Bernard Parish, Louisiana, grant delays left critical drainage pumps offline when flash floods struck in April, causing over $11 million in damages that could have been avoided. This matters to travelers too. 82% of U.S. counties rely on FEMA funds to prep for weather emergencies. Without those funds, towns are forced to choose between maintaining fire departments or updating flood evacuation plans. If this trend continues, even well-prepared states may falter. And when that happens, you won't just be a tourist, you'll be part of the disaster. And the next chapter? It's where to go and where to absolutely avoid. Chapter 5. Travel tips and safe zones. Where not to go in hurricane season. If your vacation is planned between June 1st and November 30th, you're traveling through America's danger zone, and 2025 is shaping up to be the stormiest season in nearly 2 decades. According to the Colorado State University (CSU) forecast, we could see up to 17 named storms, with at least 9 hurricanes, 4 of them major, category 3 or higher. But storms alone aren't the problem. It's where they hit and what happens after. First, let's talk hot zones. Florida's Keys, Texas Gulf Coast, and inland North Carolina are at extreme risk, not just because of storms, but because they're now supported by weaker FEMA infrastructure, fewer evacuation resources, and outdated flood maps. In Florida, for example, 52% of active FEMA flood zones haven't been updated since 2006, according to The Guardian. That means homes, hotels, and even hospitals may be sitting in high-risk areas without even knowing it. In North Carolina, inland flooding has overtaken wind as the deadliest factor. After Hurricane Helene in 2024, over a dozen towns lost road access for days due to flash floods, not from landfall, but from storm stalling over the mountains. In some counties like Haywood and Macon, entire neighborhoods had to be airlifted after GPS showed highways still intact when they'd actually washed away. So where's safe? Stick to inland regions with proven emergency readiness. Atlanta, Georgia, and Birmingham, Alabama have maintained full FEMA coordination and have completed their 2025 resilience audits. Nashville, Tennessee, while still in the path of residual storms, has added 60 new flood response crews and installed digitally triggered water gates. Avoid barrier islands, coastal highways, and low-lying floodplains, especially near rivers. These regions may appear fine on arrival, but a single storm cell can block exits within hours. And remember, in 2025, it's not just about the storm. It's about whether anyone is coming to help afterward. Now let's break down exactly how to prepare and what FEMA's silence really means for travelers like you. Chapter 6. Steps to stay safe. Prepare, pack, avoid. If you're traveling during hurricane season in 2025, preparation isn't optional. It's your lifeline. Because what FEMA once did automatically, you now have to do yourself. Let's start with weather alerts. The NOAA Weather Ready Nation program used to push automatic updates to local governments, but delays in 2025's federal funding mean fewer real-time warnings are reaching small counties. So, travelers now need personal tools. Download the FEMA app, NWS Now, and MyRadar. These apps provide location-specific alerts down to the minute. And don't ignore local apps. Texas Weather Radar and Ready NC give more tailored storm zones than national feeds. Packing smart isn't just about clothes anymore. Bring a 20,000 milliamp hour power bank, no AA-certified weather radio, flashlight, and Ziploc-packed copies of IDs and insurance policies. After the floods in Central Texas, FEMA reported over 1,200 displaced families who couldn't verify their identity to qualify for help because their documents were soaked or swept away. Waterproof everything. After Hurricane Ian in 2022, over 50% of flood-related ER visits involved contaminated water exposure, people wading through stormwater without proper gear. In 2025, FEMA halted emergency gear stockpiles in 4 southeastern states, meaning you may not find relief kits after landfall. Flood insurance is another overlooked tool. While FEMA backs the National Flood Insurance Program, NFIP, fewer than 1 in 10 Americans in flood zones are covered. In North Carolina's Buncombe County, for instance, only 0.8% of homes are insured through FEMA. Travelers can now buy short-term private flood insurance for under $50 on platforms like Neptune or Kin, well worth it if a storm hits mid-vacation. And before you go, identify your hotel's shelter-in-place zones. Request rooms on floors 3 to 5, safe from flood but accessible, and ask if backup generators power essential services like elevators and Wi-Fi. Because in 2025, your best chance of surviving a hurricane isn't FEMA, it's you. And the earlier you prepare, the fewer regrets you'll pack. Storms don't wait, and neither should you. Before you book, double-check. Before you fly, get prepared. Because in 2025, survival isn't guaranteed, it's planned. Subscribe for more real talk and smart travel warnings before the next siren sounds.